could expand that the number of customers in that rate some other way, such as through the existing proceedings, I would think. So anyway, my suggestion is that we just pose the question. I'm not suggesting an answer right now, but that we pose the question of participants.
Yes. Yeah. And I agree with you that the change does not need to be made. In this particular filing, it could be made in a different one. So.
Yeah, I don't want to prematurely end the discussion, but are there any other comments or questions? Then I will move that we approve the proposed order in this case.
A second.
Commissioner Ellison,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Connell,
Aye.
Commissioner Aguilera.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you. Next up is a utility item with presentation from Mr. Fisk. I always feel like we need a drum roll or something as you enter.
Curtains there.
Yeah, curtains would be helpful. Walk up music, I don't know.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. So we are in the matter of the adoption of technical interconnection and interoperability requirements pursuant to the recently amended interconnection rule for interconnecting facilities of 10 megawatts or less. In this docket, the three investor-owned utilities did file proposed TIIRs, the technical interconnection, et cetera, interoperability requirements, and received a response objections to those to the content of some of the content of the TIIRs from the Renewable Energy Industries Association, REIA. And the commission had also established a working group, the Interconnection Technical Advisory Working Group, to give its assessment of the TIRs and also the ones that were submitted, and also what should be in TIRs in general. And then we also had there were the utilities and were responded to by REIA, and REIA's objection was responded to by the utilities. I think all three. And then staff actually filed a reply to all to the responses of the utilities. And this order would not address all of the comments made on both sides. Because conferring with Arthur O'Donnell, he felt that for this proceeding, we have a voluminous record with disagreement among I think really between the utilities and the other groups that have made recommendations or objections, like REIA staff, the interconnection. The Interstate Renewable Energy Council, or IREC. And so this order would require the utilities, instead of just having the filings, to actually meet and confer with the Interconnection Technical Advisory Working Group to resolve the issues raised by the Interstate Renewable Energy Council and Renewable Energy Industries Association, or REIA. And it would require them to do so and file a report with the commission on or before October 6th. I think October 6th is the date, which would give them about a month, because it might involve multiple meetings There are a lot of issues that were raised by IREC, not so many by REIA, but they were substantial issues. And Arthur felt that the best way to resolve these issues, or at least some of them, or maybe most of them, would be for utilities to meet directly. Obviously it could, but it doesn't have to be in person. It could be by Zoom. But instead of talking to each, sort of responding through written filings, it seemed to make sense to have the utilities actually talking to REIA, to the working group about what REIA and IREC have commented, and presumably REIA would also participate. IREC probably would not. But there could be some back and forth and discussion of particular technical problems, technical issues, and what a realistic resolution would be to each of the issues. So the three utilities would have to do that by October 6th. And then none of the substance, none of the content of the TIRs or any of the specific requirements that the commission will eventually be ruling upon are made in this order. None of those rulings are made here, except that because the working group, and I believe IREC as well, recommended that the utilities be ordered to comply with the IEEE standards regarding advanced inverters for applications received on or after January 1st of next year, that this order goes ahead and does that. It actually addresses one of these substantive issues, because that one seemed a fairly uncontroversial to have a sort of an obvious answer. But otherwise, we'd be waiting to see what comes out of the meet and confer process in terms of what would be, if there would be any changes required to the proposed TIRs that were proposed by the utilities. And so with that, I'll take any questions.
Thank you. I just have one question. Is PRC staff a member of the Interconnection Technical Advisory Working Group?
That is a good question. I can take a look at that. I believe there are representatives of the utilities on it.
Yeah, I just looked at the agenda or the report that was in the packet. I just didn't see staff on there. I don't know.
Yeah, I just like to see, or we started on Monday and it's been a time.
Okay. Hey, things are getting better by the minute here. So, reason I was asking that question is we have the SPS request for SIR rebuttal. They take issue with something staff said. So I was just hoping as part of this process, that issue might get resolved too.
Yes, and the order that hopefully you're all looking at the order that I sent yesterday evening around 6. I hadn't included in the previous version of the order anything addressing that motion. There's the motion by SPS to file a SIR reply to staff's reply and reply to, I believe it was IREC's comments. And I have actually inserted into this order a finding in paragraph 16. The commission would find that SPS's motion should be denied, as the commission in this order is establishing the procedure for this matter going forward, and SPS will have the opportunity to reply to IREC's comments and to respond to staff's reply and the report to be filed after the meet and confer procedure. Because this order would ask for a joint report and as much agreement as possible on the proposals, but the parties can also file their own individual reports or a report that contains both. Where there's agreement, it could be joint proposals. Where there's no agreement, it could be individual proposals. Because it was staff's reply and IREC's comments that SPS wanted to respond to. And they'll be able to do that in this process. Specifically, IREX comments are mentioned here, but staff's reply was part of the back and forth regarding REIA's objections. So that, the fact that REIA's objections will be part of the meeting confer process means staff's reply will be addressed. So it doesn't seem like it'd be necessary to have more filings. Really, the face-to-face process is hopefully what will resolve this.
Yeah, you just hit the heart of my question is hopefully that, first of all, appreciate this order because just from tracking the paperwork that's been filed, issues are getting resolved by these groups working together. So that's fantastic. And so I like this order because we're going to take one more try and see if we can get all the way there. So anyway, just that was my question. And so hopefully, SPS is here, staff's here. Hopefully they heard that. Let's keep the ball rolling. And if you can find a way to resolve the concerns you each have through this process, please do.
And Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I noticed that even though I did include that findings paragraph regarding the motion, SPS's motion, I didn't actually include in the ordering paragraph a statement that I will add if the commission adopts this order, that will say that SPS's motion is denied. I just forgot to put that in the ordering paragraphs.
Oh, I see what you're saying. It is in a finding, but then it's not ordered.
Correct.
So any other questions, discussions? All right, then I'll move that we adopt your proposed order with the change that you just described. So add an ordering paragraph that denies the motion.
A second.
Commissioner Ellison,
Aye.
Commissioner O'Connell,
Aye,
Commissioner Aguilera.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously, Mr. Chair.
great, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Don't go away. This won't take very long. The next item is just discussion item. When we, at the last open meeting, created a process to try to create a mini rule for the Energy Transition Act. A conflict with the proposed date happened late last week. And then I also recognize that when I set those dates, I didn't do a very good job of conferring with my fellow commissioners because it occurred to me you guys might be in Seattle that week that we'd originally proposed. So anyway, needed to take a second try at the date. We were able to handle that through a single signature order. So that order got issued and it's now October 11th rather than, I think it was originally scheduled for October 3rd or 4th. So anyway, I unless either of you have more you want to say about that item, I think that's it for that. Okay, so next item, again, Mr. Fisk, is this discussion item of 23-00154 UT.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Yes, this is on the agenda with only my name on it, but I'll just be giving a brief introduction because this will really be staff's presentation. In particular, Eugene Evans, our Telecom Bureau engineer, will be giving a presentation that he's given every year around this time as per the Commission's broadband program rule, which is within the Commission's State Rural Universal Service Fund, or SRUSF rule, because the broadband program is within the SRUSF. I did provide my own memo to the Commission to give you some information about the things that fall outside of Eugene's presentation, because he talks about the actual applications received, his review of them, that he's determined that they meet the minimum requirements of the Commission's broadband program rule, so that they're all up for consideration by the Commission. They're all ones that can go forward, but the Commission will have to choose. because as I explained in my memo, we'll probably only have about $11.8 million. We don't know the precise number yet, but it's probably going to be about that amount because that was the amount that was available last year for the broadband program. And that is a function of the fact that there is in the Rural Telecommunications Act a $30 million statutory cap on the size, the annual size of the fund. It can never pay out more than $30 million. And there are other obligations of the fund. Specifically, the largest obligation of the fund is paying out what are called access reduction support payments to the rural incumbent local exchange carriers as per a specific formula in the statute. And there are also some other smaller payments that are made, but that's the bulk of it. It's over half. But that in recent legislation, in fact, legislation just this in the last legislative session, the Rural Telecom Act was amended to, among other things, freeze that amount ordinarily at last year's level. So we know exactly what that calculation is. Whereas, in most years we have to gather information from the rural ILECs about most about how many access lines, how many customers they're serving, because that has traditionally gone down. It went up a couple of years ago as a surprise, but we don't have to do that this year. We do have to find out we do have to inquire as to one of the obligations. And I believe that was on the consent agenda. Erica Stephans has been working with me, and there's a separate docket, as there is every year, for the calculation of the size of the fund, all the obligations of the fund for next year, and the size of the per communication connection surcharge, which is a surcharge I'll find on your telecom bills if you have a New Mexico number that funds the SRUSO. So the only thing we're going to have to calculate this year probably will be, there's a special kind of payment that's made to only to Sacred Wind Communications, and so I believe that the order that was issued today, I believe Erica had that on the agenda today, would ask for that information. So that will give us a more exact number, but 11.8 million is probably what will be left about that. Because like I said, we know what the access reduction support payments are going to be based on the change of the statute. As Eugene's memo showed, and I might just turn it over to him at this point. There's a lot more requested than 11.8 million. I think it was 30 something million, just as there was last year. For the past few years, maybe 4 years, we've had applications requesting far more than the commission had available to pay out. So it'll be a matter of prioritizing those applications. That's not something the commission has to do today. The information that Eugene has provided as per our rule he's provided very detailed information, which I uploaded to Board Effect. That should help you, assess the applications. If you want to look at the applications themselves, we have I have those as well. But I thought, given the detailed information that Eugene is providing, those spreadsheets, that may be sufficient. But that will need to be decided by the commission, like which applications will be denied, which will be granted. That, under the commission's rule, is to be decided on or before October 15th. So there's plenty of time between this presentation and when the commission will actually be making substantive decisions. But unfortunately, as in the past few years, it will involve denying quite a number of applications that do meet our minimum requirements. So that's just something that's a fact of the broadband program. So, and with that, I can take any questions, or I'll turn it over to Eugene.
Yeah, I'd say let's turn it over to Mr. Evans.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Again, thank you.
All right, good morning. Good morning. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the commission. This is my first time actually having an opportunity to speak with the full commission. I had the pleasure a few weeks ago to speak with Commissioner Aguilera, but this is the first time for me to have this opportunity to speak to you, Chairman O'Connell, and also Commissioner Ellison. So thank you. A brief, just a little background of myself. As Russell indicated, I'm the telecommunication engineer for the Telecommunication Bureau. My background is electrical engineering, but I focus on telecommunication and TCP/IP as a system engineer for over 30-something years. So I just wanted to give that little of a background of what I have done, and as a staff applicant as well, now being commissioned for the staff as an advisory position for the broadband program support for the commission itself. So at this time, I'd like to give a brief introduction of my presentation, which basically is according to the state Rural Universal Service Fund rule and broadband program of 17.11.10.31G3. Staff is required on or before September 1st to make a presentation to the commission with an analysis of their application for awards. Now, this presentation fulfills staff's requirements under the provision of 17.11.10.31 NMAC. There are a total of 10 applicants this year, with a combined total of 38 proposed projects. Now, the total cost of these 38 proposed projects is estimated to be $39,755,756.17, with a total amount of monies requested from the broadband program of $29,683,226.95. Now, the applicants combined will contribute matching funds in a total amount of $10,072,529.22. And a little history, and that is on December 7, 2017, the commission issued a final order in case number 17-00077-UT, which repealed and replaced the SRUSF rule with an amended version. Among the amendment to the SRUSF rule were amendments to the broadband program provisions under 17.11.10.31 NMPRC. Now, the amended SRUSF rule include the following provisions. Now, on May 1st of each year, the commission shall open a non-adjudicative administrative docket and establish a deadline for filing applications for broadband program support for the following calendar year. The Telecom Bureau or third-party contractors shall review and summarize all timely application pursuant to 17.11.10.31G subset 1 NMAC. Now, for the purpose of administrating the broadband program, the commission may find that a broadband program proposed projects area is a rural area, notwithstanding the definition of rural area in section R of 17.11.10.7 NMAC, if it is determined that previously the definition for the area otherwise has the characteristics of a rural area, the area is unserved or underserved by broadband, and the public interest require that the area be classified as rural. Now, these definitions has recently been revised as now to be saying any unincorporated area or any city, town, or incorporated area with a population of 20,000 or less, as reflected in the most recent decennial United States Census together with any applicable tribal census. The Commission on May 1st, 2023 issued an order opening proceeding for filing and consideration of application for 2023 broadband program support to all interested eligible telecommunication carriers or ETCs in the state of New Mexico. And during the time period of May 1st to June 5th of 2023, the following companies: Smith Bagley, Inc., also does business as Cellular One of Northeast Arizona. Valor Telecommunication of Texas, LLC, also does business Windstream Communications Southwest. Baca Valley Telephone Company, Inc. Sierra Communication, Inc. Continental Divide Electrical Cooperative. Tanasso Valley Telephone Cooperative. Plateau Telecommunication, Inc. Roosevelt County Rural Telephone Cooperative, Inc. New Mexico Surf, Inc. And finally, Dell Telephone Cooperative, Inc. has respectfully filed broadband fund application to qualify for the 2023-24 New Mexico Public Regulation Commission's Broadband Program Support Grant. Now, staff review of these particular programs, the grants itself, and for the project, staff of the Commission Telecommunication Bureau have reviewed all parties' information regarding their broadband fund application for consideration for the 2023-24 Broadband Program Support Grant. In this report, staff will briefly explain and discuss the contents of the various project proposals. Now, the broadband fund application was structured to emphasize every applicant proposed project in its most relevant detail and have applicants submit these details together in the form of 10 attachments, counting from A to Z. The first attachment, A, it lists all the address, total population, residents and business, the unincorporated areas affected, and funds requested. In attachment B is the total project budgets. In attachment C, networks or system diagrams and services. In attachment D, the design plans and documentations. In attachment E, the project plans, project implementation plans, which include specific project completed milestones. Attachment F, operational plans and providers information. Attachment G is aerial maps of KML, KMZ files, and or geographic information system or GIS shapefiles. Attachment H is a letter of support for the projects. Attachment I, commitment from the community anchor institution or public safety network. And finally, attachment J, all additional documentation or information relevant to the project. Staff now utilize the available resources regarding the current New Mexico Department of Information Technology State Broadband Map, UNM Earth Data Analysis Center or EDAC data to assist the verification project of the applicant's submitted propagation footprint, geomaps, and cartographic boundary shapefiles. In addition, staff would like to acknowledge the collaboration with the New Mexico Office of Broadband Access and Expansion, or OBAE, in this process as well. Staff also maintains an open channel of communication with each applicant to ensure the accuracy of their submitted application. And in addition, staff construct a digital spreadsheet to help emphasize for the commission, which I am told from what Russell had, you do have, various project proposals and site locations for each applicant. This includes an interactive cost estimate tab and to further assist the commission, and that is within that spreadsheet that each commissioner should have. Now, this process allows staff to fully evaluate adhering to the compliance criteria established in 17.11.10.31 NMAC, each proposal separately and construct a comprehensive report on each and every proposed project submitted by all the applicants. Therefore, after reviewing all the information submitted by the applicants as factual information, staff believes that the companies have satisfactorily answered all of staff's inquiries and all of the project proposals submitted by the applicants are accepted for consideration to move forward through the selection process by the commission in compliance with the as aforementioned criteria outlined in 17.11.10.31 NMAC. And at this time, I would like to discuss the applicants. First, Smith Bagley, Inc. also does business Cellular One in Northeast Arizona. Now, Smith Bagley proposed 16 projects that consist of 4 new tower builds and 12 4G LTE advanced and 5G new radio upgrade services that will construct and place into service 4 new cell towers and coverage in unserved areas and 12 new upgrades that will provide increased mobile peak data speeds and overall capacity service to customers that are recently being served or underserved in an unincorporated area of McKinley, Cibola, and San Juan counties, respectively. Smith Bagley, so wireless network transport both voice and data traffic from each site cells or cellular towers back to a mobile switching center or MSC. And the mobile switching center house core components to process voice calls, text messages, or multimedia messages services, such as pictures, messaging and data. Now, voice and text, 3G and 4G like technologies that originate and terminate users within the Smith Bagley Inc. networks are routed and connected with the MCS or the switching center. Voice and text originated or terminated outside of Smith Bagley network is routed by this mobile switching center to interface with the public switch telephone network. Now, in this project, the existing 3G technology will continue to provide voice and text, but data section or request 3G and 4G like technologies are transported from a cell site through the mobile switching center and to the internet to bag up the users. And in addition to the cellular voice, the key improvement to public safety and emergency services is the improvement of the mobile broadband of 4G Lite to 4G Lite Advanced and 5G new radio. Now, these changes will improve the mobile data throughput speeds of 25 megabits down and 3 megabits up by adding the new proposed 4th generation LTE Advanced and 5th generation new radio service to offer a much faster download and upload speeds. Now, peak speed is up to 147 megabits per second download, typically around 50 megabits per second, and 8 to 10 megabits upload, as well as a reduced network latency. Now, the total proposed cost for the 16 new projects is $16,170,326. And the amount of the grant fund requested is $11,961,323. And the amount of the matching fund, 25%, is $4,209,003. The next applicant is Valor Telecommunication of Texas, LLC, also does business as Windstream of Southwest. Windstream proposed one project that would expand its fiber to the home broadband network service to the Trusa's underserved exchange area. Now, Windstream will provide Ethernet service over their existing central office fiber connected multi-service access node that house optical line terminals, equipment in support of its passive optical network outside the plant fiber network, and utilize multi-service terminals and optical network terminals for their fiber drops to their customer premises. Now, the proposed project will support broadband internet access service of speeds of 1 gigabit per second, over 1 gigabit per second, up and down, symmetrically, and voice grade services to all households and businesses in this proposed project area. Now, this proposed project cost for the TRUSIS project is $236,909, and the amount of the grant fund requested is $177,682, and the amount of the matching fund that Windstream will put in is $59,227. Our next applicant is Baca Valley Telephone Company, Inc. Now, Baca Valley Telephone, Inc. proposed 4 projects that would provide access to voice and broadband services to customers that are currently unserved or underserved in its territories of Johnson Mesa, NRA Maxwell, Village of Maxwell, and Des Moines service area. Now, Baca Valley Telephone Company, it deploys all standardized Calix network equipment, such as Calix GE 4024E7 blades, and chastity and deliver high density point-to-point Ethernet or active Ethernet service and standardized Calix 711 ONTs at the customer premise. Now, mind you, commissioners, I have included a glossary with acronyms as well within your packet. So that gives a lot more definition on the acronyms and the technology. So just to, make sure that you get a background on this. Plus offer customer Calix routers units for rental. So the optical network terminals have 2 dial tones and ports and 2 Ethernet ports. Now, the total proposed cost for the 4 projects is $4,304,035.12. The amount of grant funds requested is $2,740,858.17. And the amount of matching funds of 25% is $1,076,008.77. My next applicant is Sierra Communication, Inc. Now, Sierra Communication, Inc. proposed 4 projects as well that would provide access to voice and broadband service to customers who are currently unserved or underserved in its service territories of Beehive, Lambert Hill, Tiger Drive South, and Vihimos Park. Now, Sierra Communication, Inc. deploys all standardized Calix network equipment, such as the Calix GE 24E7 blades and chassis that deliver high-density point-to-point Ethernet or active Ethernet services, and standardized Calix 711 optical network terminals at the customer's premise, but offer customers Calix routers units as rentals as well. Now, the optical technical network have 2 dial tone ports with 2 Ethernet ports. The design of this project will easily handle any unexpected growth. The fiber can be expanded to accommodate housing growth, and their main central office hub equipment can also easily be expanded to 2 gigabits per second. There are both physical diversity and redundancy for all of Sierra Communication, Inc.'s circuits. This project is close in proximity to Raton, New Mexico central office, and the capacity of the link is currently 1 gigabits per second. Sierra Communication has link and equipment redundancy built and designed by its backhaul network with its parent company of Baca Valley Telephone, Inc. Now, this proposed project cost of the 4 projects is $3,558,731.56. And the amount of the grant fund requested is $2,701,878.72. And of course, the amount of the matching fund that Baca Valley will put in is $856,852.84. Move on to the next applicant, which is Continental Divide Electric Cooperative, Inc. Now, Continental Divide Electrical Cooperative, Inc. proposed 1 project that would provide access to voice and broadband services to customers who are currently unserved or underserved in a service area of Timberlake, New Mexico. Now, the proposed project is to extend the Continental Divide Electrical Co-op fiber to the home service to Timberlake service area by constructing last mile fiber to serve this area in north of Rama. Now, the Timberlake service area is roughly 13 square miles, quarter along Timberlake Road, connecting the community of Timberlake to Rama rather. And most residents in Timberlake are part of the Timberlake Ranch Landholders Association. Now, the entire Timberlake service area is in an unincorporated area with less than 500 people. The community is located in Zuni Mountains and is in both McKinley and Cibola County, with the center of the community about 9 miles north of Rama. Continental Divide Company will provide offering voice service to residential and commercial accounts, along with broadband starting at 25 down and 25 megabits up to 1 gigabits per second down and 1 gigabit per second up. Now, the total proposed cost of the Timberlake project is $4,394,200. And the amount of the grant fund requested to the commission is $3,295,650. And the amount of the matching fund they're going to put in is $1,098,550. My next applicant is Peninsula Valley Telephone Cooperative. Now, Peninsula Valley Telephone Cooperative proposed 3 projects, commissioners, that would provide access to voice and broadband service to customers who currently unserved or underserved in the service territory of Artesia North, Artesia South, and Mayhill. Infrastructure will include aerial fiber cable that will be wholly owned by Peninsula Valley Telephone Cooperative, Inc. The fiber optic cable will be attached to poles owned by Otero County Electric Cooperative under the guidelines of a joint use agreement. The proposed project area is currently unserved by broadband standards, although Peninsula Valley Telephone Cooperative does provide voice service to these locations. Completion of this fiber project will allow the voice and fiber to the home or the premise broadband service of 1,000 megabits per second down and 50 megabits per second up or greater to each location within the project area. And the total proposed cost for these 3 projects are $1,901,250. The amount of grant fund requested is $1,425,938. And the amount of the matching 25 funds that they are going to put in is $478,312. My next is Plateau, Inc. Commissioner, Plateau Communication proposed 1 project that would provide access to voice and broadband service to customers who are currently unserved or underserved in the service territories of South Clovis, New Mexico. Now, Eastern New Mexico Rural Telephone Co-op, parent company of Plateau Telecommunications, has built fiber to their incumbent local exchange customers surrounding the proposed area south of Clovis. And the backhaul network of each new broadband loop carrier is designed and configured to use 10 gigabits per second backhaul links. Now, the access network would be a fiber to the premise network using standard active Ethernet technology with a dedicated fiber optic network terminal to each customer's home. Then the network provides 3 broadband data rates. One is 100 megabits per second symmetrically. The other will be 500 megabits per second symmetrically, and last 1 gig or 1 gigabits per second symmetrically. And the total proposed cost for this South Clovis project is $1,497,729.49. And the amount of the grant fund requested is $1,123,297.11. And the amount of the matching funds, the 25% they're going to put in, is $374,432.38. My next applicant is Roosevelt County Rural Telephone Cooperative, Inc. Now, Commissioner, Roosevelt County Rural Telephone, Inc. has proposed a project that would provide access to voice and broadband services to customers who currently unserved and underserved in the territory of Elda West. Now, this proposed project is capable of providing 1 gigabits per second broadband service to each customer's location. The optical transport network currently utilizes 10 gigabit per second links, which have equipment redundancy. The design involves installing approximately 47.6 miles of area fiber, and 1.6 miles of buried fiber to provide fiber to the premise broadband services to 17 locations. Placement of the last mile fiber will be in the existing right-of-way and on the existing pole lines. The applicants already has a pole attachment agreement in place with Roosevelt County Electric Co-op. And so Roosevelt County Rural Telephone Co-op will offer proposed project area speeds of 25 megabits to 100 megabits per second symmetrically. And the total proposed project cost of the Ida West project is $2,292,650. And the amount of the grant fund requested is $1,719,488. And of course, the matching fund is $573,162. The next applicant is New Mexico Surf, Inc. Now, New Mexico Surf, Inc. proposed 6 projects that would provide access to voice and broadband service to customers who are currently unserved or underserved in the service territories of Canacinto, Chamita, El Dorado, San Pedro, Los Cierros, and Tijeras, New Mexico. New Mexico Surf background consists of 2 leased fiber lines running back to Phoenix and Denver. In addition, they have 2 dedicated internet access fiber lines in Las Vegas, New Mexico, and Rio Rancho, New Mexico, as backup in the event of 2 fiber lines in Santa Fe is severed. The core consists of multiple 10 gigabits links and is now in the planning phase to scale up to 100 gigabits. Additionally, New Mexico Surf will be adding a fiber line from Santa Fe to Albuquerque for more redundancy. Now, New Mexico Surf will utilize licensed frequencies for the backhaul and 3.5 gigahertz for the customer's connections. Their proposed cost of all 6 of those projects is $4,176,625. The amount of grant requested from the fund is $3,132,468,075. And the amount of the matching funds of the 25% is $1,044,156.25. And lastly, the applicant of Dell Telephone Cooperative, Inc. Commissioner, Dell Telephone Cooperative proposed 1 project that would provide access to voice and broadband service to customers who are currently unserved in a service area of Queens, New Mexico. Now, Dell Telephone Cooperative is planning on installing 2 towers within the Queens area, utilizing a license of 11 gigahertz radio for backhaul and installing multiple access points on the tower. Dell Telephone background consists of a fiber optic cable from the Dell City central office to the Queen central office and is scalable to increase the number of subscribers. The open platform communication assumed the use of the citizen band radio service spectrum for the fixed wireless access equipment. The core can handle up to a multiple 10 gigabits links with the scalability that will offer 25 megabits upload and 25 megabits download speed symmetrically, and the capability to upgrade the service up to a 100 gigabits link network if necessary. And Commission, the total proposed cost for the Queens last mile upgrade and expansion project is $1,223,300. And the amount of the grant fund requested is $907,000 $917,475, and the amount of the matching 25 funds is $305,825. And with that, I'm stand for questions if you have any.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Look forward to meet you in human someday. I think, that's just as an aside, something that we're trying to figure out is how to get us together as a group more often than we have so far. But I just had, could you briefly go over what the next steps are between now and October 15th from your point of view?
From my point of view, at this point, I am available, Chairman O'Connell, to answer any questions. Obviously, if you have in-depth questions towards each and every applicant's project or proposed projects, I'm available for that. I have mentioned that to Commissioner Aguilera. And I think at this point is the deliberation for the commission, the commissioners, to try to determine through my spreadsheet that I have also given to you guys. You can pick and choose, paste, copy and paste, and it will add, subtract to try to, kind of maintain where the what funds is, as Russell indicated, is 11.8 million roughly. So you can kind of pick and choose your particular under the criteria of the projects that we have been presented to the commission. Now, with me, if you guys go into a little further and want a more technical evaluation towards what I had gave a lot, but if you want a little bit more explanation, obviously, I'm available. We can talk about that as well, sir.
Great, thank you. And then the information you've provided, provides the technical advantages and the cost. Is there any kind of a constructability review that goes into that?
As in,
I mean, do we believe that all of these projects are the same in terms of can get built? And
yes, yes,
okay.
yes. They are all ready to be performed and be built at this time. I went through all the specs as well as their capabilities, and they have all filed in the requirements that we requested within our applications as the commission, with all the support of the local area as well as all the anchor institutions with their capabilities, all the physical, electrical, technical background expertise. All this has been reviewed and is passable for the commission. So yes, each and every one of those applicants and applications are ready to start the building through the aspect of being approved one way or the other. Now, I also like to establish that what is not going to be, let's say, applicants that is not approved or given applicants giving grants to, I should say. I know OBAE, Office of Broadband Expansion, they are looking forward and looking at these projects as well, because they are fiber to the homes in most cases outside of the cellular programs. So they will kind of look at that as well to see if that's something that they can give grants to, providing that here at the commission that we cannot.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Ellison, you got any questions?
I don't. Thank you for your work on this, Mr. Evans.
You're welcome, Mr. Ellison.
How about?
I do have some questions, Mr. Evans. Thank you for the presentation. Can you discuss a little bit more about the coordination that you've had with OBAE? And one thing I'm thinking about is how do we ensure that the plan is coordinated, right? We have an obligation by law also to coordinate the plan. So how are we ensuring that we are coordinating? For example, that we are not duplicating efforts, or if we are, they're for redundancy and reason and it's beneficial. Can you speak to that, please?
Certainly, Commissioner Aguilera. First of all, And I think we utilize, and I'm talking about OBA and the commission, we utilize the same resources concerning EDAC, which is the Earth data aspect of UNM, which we do a lot of mapping purposes for the New Mexico broadband map for the state here for Do It as well. And also we are now in communication with one another. Now I have been speaking to Sandeep, which is their connection at OBAE, and he comes back to me and we kind of collaborate on locations, collaborate on projects that may overlap or may be close to one another. So we are hopefully be assured that our projects don't overlap with one another. And with all the mapping aspect has been sent to our New Mexico broadband mapping aspect for Do It, as well as whatever is coming out of EDAC as well. So there's a lot of communications and collaboration between our two agencies that try to safeguard any overlaps in that manner. And as I said, I'm also in communication with a lot of the project managers as well as the owners of each and every one of these companies that is submitting applications to. So I maintain that communications through the years and make sure that they are aware that they are reporting something that that they have done their homework as well. And if so, we do have process involved where they can have a reconsideration or some kind of a review if that seems to be a problem somewhere down the line. But in all, Commissioner Aguilera, we basically do a lot of communication among each other within our agency to make sure we don't have much overlap there.
Okay, so in terms of the projects that are requesting funding here, in this information, do we have, are we able to tell whether any of these projects are duplicates with other projects that might be in front of OBE for potential funding? OBAE?
Yes, that's part of my job, and which I try to review that as closely as possible for the information that's been submitted to the commission, information that I gather from EDAC in their mapping and their observing of shape files, what have you, in the federal as well as the state, and also with my communication with OBAE, with their projects as well as combining with our project.
Okay, so and thank you for the information that you sent. That it's a lot, and I know there were narrative explanations as well, so it might be in there, and I just have not
and basically
gone through each of these projects yet.
That's correct.
Okay, in terms of the obligations that a recipient of a grant has to follow through on the project, can you speak to that? What happens if they don't follow through, or there withdrawal penalties? Can you provide any information as to that?
Now, through our application and rules, each applicant have for a project of 3 years for completion. And within the process we have 3 stages of how that money can be distributed as a distribution. And that is the initial stage, the middle stage, and also the final. And in each section, this is where my attachments comes in view. They have to actually perform in the sense of explaining where they are, what milestone, and how the money is being utilized in that manner as well. Now, you have up to 3 years. That doesn't necessarily mean that you can take 3 years. You can do it within as quick as you can if that's the case, but you do have that time limit. Now, if there is any reason for a company, and there have been a couple that will go past the 3 years for various reasons. I know the pandemic in 2020 caused a couple companies to do that because we had equipment issues and it was a stalling, and so there were some issues there. They can file a variance to the commission stating the reasons why they need extra time or the reason why they cannot meet the conditions that is stated within their application as well as within our rules. And then it's up to the commission to either to hear that out and to grant that time. And I have not came into any instance that the commission have not granted it, but in most cases they have valid reasons why they need extra time to complete the projects, but usually that's usually at the end point as well.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. As I know this is not a conversation about a new rulemaking, and that's, but I think there are things that we might want to consider after we go through this process, and we might identify some room for improvement and may want to undertake that. The other question I want to ask is, we have projects in front of us. What I'm struggling with a bit right now is, how do I evaluate them? What factors am I weighing against others? We have certain priorities about served and underserved, and cost per customer and those things, but what do our rules tell us about how we need to consider these projects and compare them?
Well, you did touch on the two, Commissioner Aguilar, and that is the served and unserved, or underserved, I should say, is a criterion, and also the customers, how many are going to be served by these projects, the cost of it as well. And that is something that's dictated within my spreadsheet that you can, the commissioners can go through and cruise through and match and basically see where the funds are and how it drops down to that point. But that's what our rules indicated. Now, Mr. Fitz may, if he's still in the audience, may want me can add on how specifically the rules will state when it comes down to just anything further than unserved and underserved, and how the structure of my spreadsheet and as well as structure of how it has been done in the past, to give any indication of how you can select what have you and what the companies within the projects.
Yeah. Thank you. I think that's probably one thing that I would want to undertake in a rulemaking, is coming up with objective criteria so that we know how we need to evaluate these projects, and the potential recipients know as well. Another thing that comes to mind, for example, is matching. It seems like these projects need to put up at least 25% of the project, and that's what they've done.
Yes.
I think there's also
Commissioner, if I may, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's the floor. Now, they're not strictly mandated to just do only 25%. They can put in more if they choose to do so. That's up to the company, but that's the minimum amount of putting down, putting as a matching fund.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, did any of them put up more than 25%?
This year, no.
Right. Yeah. So, things that we'll want to think about. I think just keeping that in mind as you do your evaluation, because we have a lot of projects here, and I'm just anticipating a difficult time being able to choose among them.
I would be here for you, Commissioner.
Yes. I guess the point is, I'd rather have, criteria that, has been predetermined and does most of the job for me. Just in terms of fairness, I think that's also why that's important. In terms of comments, did anybody submit comments for any of these projects?
Comments as in?
Public comments, or I don't know, objections.
At this point in time, I don't know what has been filed. I know there may be possibly, and like I said, within our rules, they do have opportunity to have any objections if that is the case. But at this present time, what has been filed, I do not know if anything has, with possibility that it could. But at this time, I guess it's either going to be filed or it's not.
Okay,
Commissioner Eli,
Sure.
there have been often in the broadband program, we'll receive letters from, for instance, a city that will benefit from the project.
Mhm.
I think we did receive a couple of those this year that are in the docket, so I can point those out to you.
right, and those are, as I understand it, part of the application as well, like there's letters of
Yes.
support, yeah.
So yeah, sometimes they attach those, and sometimes they're separately filed.
If I can add on to that as well, yes. And that information is also part of information I provided for you guys too. On each project, there is recommendations, there is companies that promotes it and give their okay with it and credit aspect within the city, either from the mayor or whatever the case may be. So there's a lot of information towards each project from the city, from the area of where they're going to perform as well. So yeah, you should have all that.
Okay, thank you. And so lastly, I just, want to thank you for all the work that you've done here. There's a lot of analysis that has been done already, organization and going back and forth and making sure the applications are complete. And so just want to take a moment to thank you for all of the work that you've done.
Well, I appreciate it. It's my job, but it tends to take my summer. Thank you.
Yeah. I will have some questions and then maybe some requests for additional columns that maybe we can work through and then post them so that all of us have the same information.
Okay, no, that's fine. I think we had that discussion earlier between you and I'm I'm gladly to try to help that to make it more clear or to improve whatever and make your job easier in that manner. That's fine with me. That we can do that.
Thank you so much. I don't have anything else, Chair.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to focus on the presentation. So thank you for the information and presentation. Then just process wise, when I look at the calendar, we've got a deadline of October 15th. Between now and October 15th, we have open meeting on the 21st and the 5th. So I would encourage myself and my fellow commissioners to take a whack at what you think you need to do to sort through this before the 21st. And then on the 21st, we can assess if we need to have a special meeting in order to do our duty before the 15th. And then I don't like that we missed September 1st. So that's just a conversation, I think, outside of this meeting for how that happened. But just knowing that we've got 6 weeks, of those 6 weeks, one of them's already used. Just saying these things out loud is hopefully to motivate myself to do it too. But so I encourage everyone to take a look at all the information in the spreadsheets. Now, having heard the presentation, I'll do a better job than my cursory view before this meeting. So then let's come prepared on the 21st and figure out if we need to have a special meeting just to get this done.
If I may, Chairman O'Connell and commissioners, I also want to provide you information. My presentation was a short form. And I tried to make it as short as I could, considering the length of time I wanted to speak. But I also have a long form, and that has a lot more information in each and every one of these projects that I just presented today. So I suggest that you may want to look at that as well and cruise over that. That would give a lot more information in a more organized way where it may make a few things more clear outside of my spreadsheet that I create as well. So please do so on that and utilize my glossary as well. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
See no further discussion on that. I think we can move on to communications with chief of staff.
Well, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, could I just respond? I get just a few remarks that I think will clarify some things. Especially with the things that Commissioner Aguilera raised, which are very relevant. I'll be very quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, I want to apologize that this is late. It's not that we didn't make it by September 1st. That was not in any way the fault of Eugene. He had everything ready. It's my fault. So I apologize for that because we did lose some time there. I know the commission doesn't like to issue more variances, but the commission could issue a variance from the October 15th deadline if more time is needed. It has been done in the past when more time was needed because there's enough time between then and the end of the year to coordinate that with setting of the fund size, et cetera. But Commissioner Regulator, you made a very good point. This is the first year that we'll actually be coordinating with OBAE because the statute requires us to coordinate with the state broadband program, state broadband plan. And there's only that arose this year. It was actually completed this year. We have been talking to OBA, but I will be getting, I don't have anything, we've discussed actually the applications in detail and they're aware of the applications, but what I'm going to want from them, and I'll get that very soon, is some kind of hard, like what projects would they actually not want us to do that they truly believe that they find to be duplicative. And because up till now it's been a detailed discussion of all the applications, but they haven't laid down any rules like that there have to be certain speeds or that these projects are clearly duplicative. So I'm going to contact them along with and Commissioner Aguilera, if you'd like to participate in that call with Mike and Eugene again, because they're very familiar with their applications and I just don't know exactly what they would say should be taken off the table, not considered, if any of them. So I will get that information to you. And just to explain, you have two spreadsheets. One has a whole set of information, 6 or 7 pieces of information that are required by the rule. And then the other is, as Eugene was saying, an interactive spreadsheet where if you remove a number, if you remove a dollar amount, like the dollar amount being requested for a particular project, and you see how much is left. So you can see how it fits into the approximately $11.8 million. And you can sort of play with that and see what happens with taking projects out, putting them back in, et cetera. It is organized in the way that the former commission had prioritized applications. They first prioritized all applications serving unserved areas, and then those serving underserved areas. That usually resulted in all of the projects serving unserved areas being granted. And then, the underserved areas, that's where we reached the limit, the monetary limit. And within that category, as Commissioner Aguilera was saying, the cost per person served was a criterion for actually listing them within each category. When you got to a certain point and everyone out of money, that's when the commission would stop. So those are the two major criteria. The rule doesn't require any criteria. It mentions the unserved, underserved distinction, but it doesn't even apply that, because what happens is if the commission deviates from that in any way, which they have in the past, or if a particular project that would serve an unserved area is extremely expensive, much more expensive per customer than other projects, which we've seen before, sometimes the commission has eliminated those and thus violated their own criteria. So we intentionally wrote the rule to be very open, just to avoid doing a lot of variances. So with that, I can take any questions, or that's all for my comments. I just thought it might clarify things a little bit.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner, I'm sorry, one more time, Chairman, if I can add on to that, what Russell has mentioned. One of the criteria that I know that OBAE tends to focus on is a lot of the fiber infrastructure and fiber to the home and fiber, just infrastructure in general, it's backhaul. And what we have focused on, which I think they are not really focused on, is a lot of cellular or any tower builds and stuff of that nature. So I do believe they appreciate that what we do on that end, because they don't really focus too much on that aspect of tower build and cellular communication and fixed wireless in that manner. But with any fiber connection to the premises or to the home, that they do look at. So I guess that helps you narrow some portion of it as well within our projects. If there's a larger, for instance, if there's a larger project that is a fiber to the premise, if that is going to take up so much of our allocation of funds, then maybe that would be an option for OBAE, because it is within their realm to deal with fiber to the home and backhaul. So that might keep that in consideration as well.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, so let's move on. Next item, communications with Chief of Staff.
To share, commissioners, if it's all right if I address you from here. I will be very brief. First of all, I owe you an apology because at our last meeting, I mentioned that I was going to revise and circulate a updated rules timeline status update. I haven't done that. It fell off my radar. I don't have an excuse for it, but it will happen very shortly. So my most sincere apologies. The other thing to mention here is because of the parade on Saturday, Palace is closing, the street is closing. We will be locking the doors to this building at noon tomorrow to facilitate building security, because as you know, we have no controlled access here. So we will be closing and locking the doors at noon. That is not to say that employees cannot utilize the building. Anyone who has an access card can still get in and work in the building, but the doors will be closed to the public. And that's all I have, unless you have questions for me.
Commissioners, any questions for Chief of Staff? Well, thank you. Yeah, I was thinking about that when we did the New Mexico flag salute. It's a good time to live in New Mexico. So part of that means building closes tomorrow, right? Communications with commissioners. I personally didn't have any updates. Do you have any?
I don't, not right now.
No. Commissioner Aguilera?
No, well, just one thing, which is what I briefly mentioned earlier about getting a speaker to lay out the sort of the environment for the regional market workshop. I think I probably have someone, but you know, still just a small caveat that I might ask to move it. So, so what I wanted to mention is how we could do that. I think probably issuing like a supplement in the interim, a single signature order, just updating the time, which is, I think, what we've done before. So, okay, thank you.
So any objections to adjourning? We are adjourned.